You're listening to Cowboy Logic with Jason Forby, a message of grace and hope.
All right, everybody's good? You know, if every heart would just encounter unconditional love of God, the wars would be over. Yeah, what a deal. Jesus went up on the Mount of Transfiguration. You remember that? What was it? Maybe in Mark 9. I forget where we read now. But he took 3 disciples with him. All right, he took 3, which left 9 that didn't get to go. Right? So the 9 that didn't get to go, they're left there at the bottom. And I imagine, they're guys. Well, how come them 3? Come on now, I know nobody in here probably thinks like that, but you see the potential. And so while they're sitting around grumbling probably, and it doesn't say this, I'm just saying in my read between the lines, my thinking of how the thing could possibly go, is they're sitting around grumbling, thinking, well, them, goody two-shoes, they get to go up on the hill with Jesus, and us second rates are left behind here. And while they're sitting around in this place kind of feeling bummed out or whatever, then this guy comes along with his son. And the guy says, I need my son to be healed. He's like got, seizures and devil throws him in the fire or tries to drown him. And it's all this bad case, this boy's tormented in a bad way. And so he brought the boy to the disciples. Not all the disciples, the 9. The ones feeling like the B team. The ones that are probably potentially offended. And then they pray for the boy. They want the boy to be free, right? And they didn't get the job done. And so then, this whole scenario's going on. And then in here for too long, here comes Jesus down the hill with the 3 golden boys. And Jesus is like, what's going on here? What's happening? I'm paraphrasing the story, And then the father, he speaks up. He says, well, I brought my son to your disciples, and they didn't get the job done. And then a kind of ruckus is starting. Jesus is like, we better hurry up. There's too much crowd gathering. And so he says, bring the boy to me. And Jesus heals the boy, sets the boy free just like that, right? And we talked about, well, was it the will of God for the boy to be free? Of course, Jesus is the will of God. Jesus performs the will of God. He's not going to do anything contrary to the will of God. So is it the will of God for the boy to be free? Did the boy get free when the disciples prayed for him? So just because the boys didn't get results doesn't mean we need to write a new theology and say, well, it must not have been the will of God. No, just because the boys didn't get the job done, let me make it personal. Just because we didn't get the job done does not mean it was not the will of God for the job to get done. And I love the posture of the disciples. That after the smoke cleared, they pulled Jesus off to the side and they said, I'm still paraphrasing, obviously it was the will of God for this boy to be free. How come we couldn't get the job done? What an awesome question. What an awesome place of heart to be, to say, I'm not going to make up new theologies about what your will is. I want to know, what do I still need to see? What do I still need to learn? What do I still need to be taught in order for the will of God to be made known and for us to see results and for people to be healed and set free, right? Come on, have I got the right bunch? So that's kind of where we ended up on the thing. And so then I just want to get into that a little bit. So this is Acts 24, 16. You might not shout at me today. I don't know. You might not shout at me today, but I promise you when we get done, there will be results. Fair? Acts 24, 16. This is actually the New King James Version I got here. It says, this being so, I myself, now this is Paul saying, I myself always strive to have a conscience without offense toward God and man. I always strive. Some translations say, I exercise daily to not have a heart with a conscience of offense. I exercise daily to not be offended towards God and man. That's what he said. I mean, who in here's ever, has anybody in here ever had, lived life with people? Is anybody in here, some of us have a job, right? Anybody got a job? Anybody have a family? You don't have to raise your hand. One time I saw a bumper sticker. It said this, family is for helping you with your problems that you wouldn't have if they weren't your family. That's a good one. Yeah, nobody say amen on that. Probably say. But come on, I'm saying we all have life with each other, and we have families, and we all have some degree of past and history. We all have lived life. We've all been hurt. Come on, is anybody in here that's never been disappointed by people, never been hurt? Come on, is some level of trauma? We experience, it's like a word we hear every day now is trauma and what people have been through, right? What I'm saying is there's plenty of opportunity for us to be offended. And this thing snuck up on us. It's like we don't even know. It's like it's a popular thing nowadays. This is how crazy a day we live in at times. It's like it's popular to be offended. Come on, it's like we make up stuff to be offended about. It's more than just, nowadays it's more than just, okay, somebody can have a clean, pure heart and then some altercation and you got offended and you have that one thing or that one issue on your heart. That's one thing, and that's no good either. We want to deal with that too. But there's even another degree of the thing to where your heart is so offended that you judge everything that happens through that lens. Come on, you see what I'm saying? It's like if you have an offended heart, you judge every situation and every motive that everybody has, every word that somebody speaks. You read that thing through this veil of, well, I'm offended. Let me read you. Has anybody in here ever had an unanswered prayer? Has anybody ever had something? You might have one now. You might say, that thing did not go the way that I expected that thing to go, or it may still be present, not going the way. Come on, is anybody here? Is anybody honest enough to say, man, that I'm not saying God is guilty of doing something wrong, but if I lost my mother when I was 16. To me, at the time where I was and what I believed about God, I didn't know nothing hardly. But they told me that God was in complete control, and if God's in complete control and I lost my mother to cancer, then that must be His fault. Come on, I don't know why I'm just kind of serious today and a little bit intense, but I'm going to get my hands on this thing's throat, and we're going to get free today. Anybody ever, because of our ignorance and not even knowing the way things work or who God is or what God's really like, that He ends up taking the blame for things, and the next thing you know, we're offended at God? Blaming God as if He's ever done wrong. Is there a lot of stuff that's happening that's not the will of God? I'm not saying He's at fault. I'm saying He took the blame because of the way that we see things and all. So you can be offended blaming God. Paul said, I have to exercise daily to not be offended at God and man. How in the world could we be offended at God? But I'm saying... Come on, because we still have a lot of misunderstanding. Fair enough? He's a big boy. He's not offended. He's not offended that we're offended. He's not offended. He knows that He's just working to get us more understanding and clear understanding and to get offense off of our heart. Because I saw this thing, right? It's like the boys didn't get the job done, right? The boys didn't get this guy's son healed and free. And I don't like that. I don't like it when it doesn't happen the way that we believe it should happen. Come on, I know y'all don't either, and we're big enough to ask the questions, right? Listen to this one in Mark 6. Mark 6, verse 3 starts in, this is NLT. Then they scoffed, "He's just a carpenter, the son of Mary, and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon, and his sisters live right here among us." They were deeply offended and refused to believe in him. Then Jesus told them, a prophet is honored everywhere except in his own hometown and among his relatives and his own family. And because of their unbelief, he couldn't do any miracles among them except to place his hands on a few sick people and heal them. And he was amazed at their unbelief. Then Jesus went from village to village teaching the people, right? So here Jesus was in this place. Now listen, I'm not talking about the boys now. I'm talking about Jesus himself. Jesus, the miracle worker, the dead raiser, the one that can do just doing mighty, amazing things. And here he is in this town, and it says Jesus himself could do no amazing miracles in this place. Why? Because they were offended. Let me give you one more. Oh gosh, it's too much to read. I'll just paraphrase this one. You guys remember when John the Baptist, he's in prison, right? And so here he is thinking, man, I'm the greatest prophet to ever walk. Jesus declared that, and here I am in prison for standing up for what I believe to be righteousness, and then here I'm still in prison, and Jesus is out here doing stuff. He's surely going to come and bust me out of here any minute. Paraphrasing. And Jesus ain't show up, and then for long, I'm still in prison. What the heck? This ain't going the way I think it ought to be going. The Messiah himself is out here, and I'm his forerunner. I'm the one that baptized him, for Pete's sake. John sends 2 of his disciples to go run down Jesus, right? And they find Jesus, and they said, hey, John said to ask you, are you really the one? And then Jesus, in his awesome way, he's healing folks, the blind. He says, you go back and tell John that the blind see, the deaf hear, the lame walk, the dead are raised, and blessed is the man who is not offended. That's what he said. Blessed is the man who's not offended. I'm thinking, man, this being offended thing, it must be a bigger deal than we've thought. And it's like, looks like to me like it would be a big hindrance that if Jesus himself isn't doing miracles, I'm thinking, man, I don't know that there's ever been a time where people are more offended than they are right now. Holy cow. It's like, there's never been a time when people are more offended. It's like, I had this revelation some time back, and you can ask Rachel and Emma if they can call BS on anything I come up with up here if it's not for real to me. I'm saying you can ask them. I refuse to be offended any longer. It's impossible to offend me. I didn't come up with that on my own. I didn't, just say do that with willpower. He just did that to me. It came with the revelation of love and a baptism of love that I care more about someone else than I do my own. Come on, it's what love is. Love cares more about the better of someone else than love is the opposite of selfishness. So there's this place that we can live with the revelation of love to where you're no longer offended. It's like how I'm no longer allowing someone else to carry the power to declare the state of my heart. I know people that have lived offended their whole life. They've been hurt. I'm not making light of what people have been through, all right? I hate that people have been through stuff. But they have. We all have. We've all experienced trauma. We've all experienced people. We've all been hurt. We've all been abused. Some worse than others, yes, and I hate it. And I'm not being insensitive to it. I'm not making light of it in any way. But why do we let someone who's hurt and broken themselves decide the fate of our entire life by us continue to live with a heart that's full of hurt and offense? Our buddy Danny would say, why would we let where someone isn't decide where we are? Don't let where they aren't have an influence of where we are. You following me? You see what I'm saying? It's like this is part of having a free heart. Free heart. Like we read it for months, didn't we, in Proverbs, where it says, guard your heart above all else, because out of it flow the issues of life. Another translations say, guard your heart, because what you have in that thing is actually setting the boundaries for what you're experiencing in your life. Your heart is setting the boundaries that according to what you're living by. And if your heart is hurt and carrying offense, It will have an impact on what you experience in life. It will have an influence on your life, and you're living that way all because of what someone might have done 30, 40, 50, however many years ago, that they don't, they're not the ones paying the price. I'm saying we lift this thing off today. We let this thing go today, and you watch the miracles of God just start happening. That's been hindering because our heart's full of offendedness. Come on, have I got the right bunch here? Are we real enough to talk about it? We've all been offended. We've all carried it's like this thing of, well, they hurt me and they should pay. Maybe so, but you're the one paying. You're the one paying. It's a hard thing. I'm not making light of it. It's a hard thing to release someone that's hurt you and to say, I'm going to let that thing go. I'm going to forgive them, even though, do they deserve to pay? Probably. But who wants to start paying for who wants to start settling up for all the hurt that they've caused? I don't. Come on. Is everybody all right? I'm just saying we got this thing by the throat. Let's choke it on out and move it on out and no longer let it operate in us. Imagine. It says Jesus was in his hometown and could do no mighty miracles because they were offended. They didn't believe in who he actually was. If that's true for Jesus himself, and we carry the same spirit, how much more of Jesus is in this room than if he just walked in the person? There's more. We have more of Jesus than they had at that time. Imagine if this many people right here remove the spirit of offense, their heart gets free. Imagine the power of miracles that would break out. Imagine the healing that we've not experienced because of this thing that's been operating. We didn't know, we weren't aware, we didn't realize, we didn't know that this thing was having a hindrance. And do I believe in hindrances? No, but come on, it's a hindrance. Could it be that I've been offended? Could it be? I mean, it's easy to be offended at people. Have you noticed people lately? I'm just saying, people are messed up, right? If people knew what love was, if people experienced unconditional love, if people were transformed by love, would they be like they are? No. We're all come in this thing not really knowing what love is. We all come in this thing selfish. We all come in this thing blind and dumb and just so full of selfishness that it's me, and we hurt people, we hurt each other. We all just a big pile of selfishness hurting one another. If we come into the thing and we be enlightened and we have a transformation and an encounter with love, we're changed and you're no longer hurting each other, right? So why are we going to hold people accountable? Why are we going to let people hold the power for the state of our hearts for the rest of our life? I'm just saying, let's let them go today. It's a hard thing, huh? Somebody's really, really hurt you. It's a hard thing to just say, no, come on, here's what the Spirit of Christ says. Here's what the will of God says, the heart of God. Here's what love says. Love does not hold a record of wrongs. Jesus would say, forgive. It's a big thing. Jesus talked a lot about forgive. Well, Peter, the A-team, said, how many times should I forgive my brother? 7? Because, I went up on the mountain with Jesus, and I'm pretty spiritual. These guys probably maybe 3. 7, Lord? Jesus says, 70 times 7, Peter. Why? Because forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness frees us. It's like I heard somebody say it, it's perfect. He said, unforgiveness is like drinking poison expecting someone else to die. It's no doubt that everybody in here has had opportunity to be offended. Justifiably, even. Some worse than others, and I hate that. I wish it wasn't so, but it is. And we can let the power of things that have happened to us at the expense of people continue to operate and to continue having influence on the rest of our lives. Or we can just turn that thing over to the power of God and say, I'm going to leave this with you. You do whatever you see fit with it, but I don't want to carry it in my heart. I don't want it to have a voice and an influence on the rest of my life. I don't want to live the rest of my life with the power of God for miracles to be hindered because I've just been living offended and carrying these things on my heart, and it's altered who I am. Some people have lived in it for so long, it's who you are. I mean, come on, you got Facebook, right? You can just know people by Facebook. It's like, man, those people, they are offended. Say, I don't know about you. I know this bunch enough. I know we want to live free. We want to be and experience all that God has for us to be and experience, and to just live life with each other, and to continue to encounter the power of love every single day, and just be transformed by that, and just watch love do what it does, and watch the Spirit of God be unhindered amongst us. Blessed is the man who's not offended. So it's kind of just a choice almost. That's why I said you're probably not going to just shout and holler at me today, or it's kind of a choice. A hard choice maybe, but it's not an emotion. It's just a choice to say, you know what? I've let this thing operate in my heart for too long, and I'm just deciding today that with the help of God, I'm making the decision, and I'm going to rely on God and His power and His strength to carry this thing out in me and to set my heart free. Come on, Jesus said every seed that's planted in you that was not planted by my Father is getting plucked out. Who would say, I want that thing plucked out of me today? I don't want to live one more day with the power of an offended heart or an offense against me or somebody that's done me wrong operate for one more minute in my life. So let's just say this together. First off, I forgive myself. Come on, some of you didn't mean it. I forgive myself. Not that He's done wrong, but our perception, you know what I'm saying? I forgive God. That was a little bit weak. He's a big boy, He can handle it. Let's even break it down even more, because we all believe different things about a different, let's say, so your perception of a father could be your perception of who Jesus is. Jesus usually got a pretty good reputation. We don't usually blame anything too much on Him. It's that Father. Father? Come on, say it with me. Father, I forgive you. I'm no longer blaming you. I want my heart free. And anything that I've held against you in my own misunderstanding, I release you. Now, Father, come on, stay with me. Now, Father, those people you gave me, they hurt me bad. From this day forward, I refuse to let someone else's trauma affect my heart any longer. I release them. I forgive them. It's as if they never sinned against me. Now, any area of healing that we've needed and not experienced, spirit of offense is gone, and the power of God will flow. How many say, I'm brave enough to say, God, I want you to do whatever you need to do in me. I want you to shape my heart and show me whatever you need to show me, and do whatever you need to do to me to get my heart to the place where all of that stuff is gone and we can operate as one unit in the power of love. Come on, is anybody brave enough to pray that in here? Somebody say, I want some. Somebody say, I am free. Somebody say, I am not offended. I forgive them. All right, here we go.
Please follow and share this message. And for more information, visit srcowboychurch.com.